Does everybody in Minnesota own a crock pot? Are there really 10,000 lakes here? And is everyone in Minnesota nice? We'll answer those questions and a bunch more, eh? So grab your fishing pole and your caribou coffee. We're going to unbox the state of Minnesota. This is an ice fisherman. He waits until the lake freezes, and then he drills a hole and sits around all day and drinks beer. And maybe gets a fish. This is a big deal in Minnesota, because there's not a lot to do around here. But they're not all ice fishermen in Minnesota, and they aren't all hockey players either. There's a lot of people up here, believe it or not. I mean, statistically, this is the second healthiest state, and the fourth smartest state, too. A lot of people don't even know where Minnesota is on a map. It's way up here, practically in Canada. Some of it is in Canada. It's an interestingly shaped state. It's the chef hat, people. Have you ever heard of the chef hat thing? Look, across the middle of the country is a cartoonish looking chef character, and Minnesota is the hat. See? Anyways, for a better analysis and a map of the state, we need to look at a rundown of the state as a whole, and then drill down into various regions. This is Minnesota. As you can see, it has a lot going on. Kinda. Lots of smart people, lots of rednecks, and lots of people who don't want anything to do with the rest of the world. Like way up here. We're going to begin way up here at the top of the state in this green part. This is snow and ice and trees and small towns. Sometimes it's even too cold to snow, where temperatures get to minus 40. That's cold, people. Like Empire Strikes Back cold. But in the summers, believe it or don't, it gets extremely hot and humid in the deep forest, kind of like the forests in Return of the Jedi, but replace the Ewoks with mosquitoes. Like in many stretches of this vast state, it's wooded in large areas. Thusly, a lot of people fish and hunt. They shoot at bear, moose, deer, snipe, that's a bird, coot, that's also a bird. Minnesota has the fourth most registered hunters in the country, just behind next door in Wisconsin. There really isn't a lot to talk about here in this part of the state. Some farms, some lumber towns, a little tourism. There's a big statue of Paul Bunyan here, and his favorite sidekick, Babe the Blue Ox. The largest city in this part of the state's in Bemidji, population 13,411. Way up north here is the little tip of the state. It's called the Northwest Angle, or the Angle, as they call it. This is the only place in the USA that's north of the 49th parallel. The land here is separated from the rest of the state by Lake of the Woods. The only way you can get here is by driving through Canada, unless you want a canoe there, or take a Zamboni if that's your thing. There's 119 people that live here, and at one point, all 119 people were almost allowed to vote on seceding and becoming part of Canada, but then they weren't. Most of the angle is held in trust by the Red Lake Indian Reservation, so there's likely a lot of empty mouthwash bottles and Copenhagen cans in the weeds. And speaking of Native Americans, there's also a few large reservations here, and one's called the White Earth Reservation. There are just under 10,000 members of various tribes which call this place home. And of course, where there's a Native American tribe, there's a casino, people. It's called the Shooting Star Casino, everyone. Deborah Funk gives this casino a 1-star review, saying, "4 of us went, not one of us could win, machines were so bad." And that's too bad, so sad for you, Deborah Funk. Over here is the Iron Range section of the state. In this large area, a lot of people work in the mines. There's iron ore here, and a ton of it. Some of the biggest reserves in the world. But it's boom or bust in these parts. It's mostly small towns. Virginia's here. It's small and somewhat sketchy. This part of the state has the highest concentration of snowmobile owners in the state, or sled owners, as they call them up here. And, as if you didn't know, Minnesota has the second most snowmobile owners in the nation, also behind, again, Wisconsin. But apparently, due to high costs, a shift in interest, and the spike of SUVs, the number of people who are into snowmobiling in Minnesota is declining. That is just so sad. Some people call this the North Country, or the Range. There's a lot of backwards towns with some very rednecky people, and Scandinavians and Italians and Slavics. They eat pasties a lot, which are baked pastries stuffed with carrots and ground beef and potatoes. kind of like a pizza roll. In fact, the inventor of Gino's pizza rolls, Gino Paolucci, is from here.
Let's look inside this pretzel and this Gino's pizza roll. Inside the pretzel, dust. Inside Gino's pizza rolls, the taste of hot, delicious pizza.
But despite this being a very blue-collar, rough around the edges, very not environmentalist place with a history of steelworkers, they vote liberal up here. That's because of the long history of unions and organized labor. Hockey is huge on the range, as it is in the rest of the state, but more on that later. Along here on the shores of Lake Superior is the North Shore. This is where all the tourists go. Here's a map which shows you the extent of the lakeside communities along this 150-mile stretch. There's hiking and waterfalls and parks and lighthouses and cute places to shop and grab a drink. It's artsy, and it's a great place to watch the Northern Lights. And the city of Duluth has the largest freshwater port in the whole world, everyone. Duluth is a mix of college kids, wealthy people, and criminal drug use, depending on what side of town you're on. Much of this part of the state is flat and forgotten about by many people in the state, unless you live here. It's very Republican. They call this God's country, very white and very much do as you please. Most of the small places here are strip malls. The biggest city in this whole region is a place called Moorhead, population 38,000, the kind of place where the biggest employers are the school district, the government, and the community college. All the well-known people from this region are hockey players and figure skaters. Over here is Fargo, North Dakota. People in Minnesota get annoyed when you make jokes about how they talk over there.
So I don't say nothing. He says, what do you think about that? And I says, well, that don't sound like too good a deal for him then.
You got that right.
That's not how Minnesota people talk. Kinda. Sorta. They do have funny accents in Minnesota though, don't you know? Stuff like them guys over there, eh? And of course, it's cold here. Cold weather for Minnesotans means Sorel boots and North Face. And ice fishing. What might sound like a boring waste of time to you is fun for people in Minnesota. It's as easy as drilling a hole on the ice and sitting on a bucket all morning long while your beard collects frost. Sometimes, ice angling involves heated buildings which are placed on top of the lake. That's kind of cheating though. Minnesota ranks tops in the country with 479,051 ice anglers, and number 2 is Wisconsin. These two states are either 1 or 2 in just about everything, it seems. They don't like each other very much, or at least there's kind of a rivalry here. Their football teams play each other in the same division, and there's a big back and forth to do about which state has the most lakes. It's kind of controversial. See, each state defines a lake differently. Minnesota doesn't say it's a lake unless it's over 10 acres, but Wisconsin says a lake is anything over 1 acre. And all lakes in Wisconsin average 4 acres. So by their definition, Wisconsin can lay claim to having 15,000 lakes, which is more than Minnesota because, you know, they're the land of 10,000 lakes. But if Minnesota used the 1 acre standard that Wisconsin used, it would have 43,000 lakes. And if Wisconsin used Minnesota's measuring criteria, it would only have 6,000 lakes. In any event, Minnesota has way more water on top. That's all that matters. However, the downside of having all those lakes is the mosquitoes, people. Summers here are off the charts bad. There's memes about it. You should Google them. Down here, it's more lakes and trees. I don't know how to put it any other way. No, it's more than that. It's a competitive mix of rural conservatives and urban liberals. The city of Rochester's here. That's where the world-famous Mayo Clinic is headquartered. It's ranked as the best hospital in the country. They do all sorts of research and save a lot of lives. There's also a bunch of hockey players down here. They love hockey here, boy. So much that they have hockey stick salad forks. And they rank high school players based on their hockey haircuts, because the kids can't grow beards yet. Minnesota has more youth hockey players per capita than anywhere except Alaska, and that doesn't really count. Wisconsin is only 13th. Take that, Wisconsin. Minnesota youth hockey games are totally boring until they get to the age where they let them fight. Then it's fun.
Did you know hockey was invented in 1872 in Montreal?
I figured it was invented in Canada, Mappy. Hey, do you know which country has the most world championships in hockey?
Canada has the most medals in ice hockey world championship play.
How many does America have? Your chart isn't even in order. Lame. He shoots, he scores! But rural Minnesota doesn't just mean small-town hockey teams. This is hot dish territory, pal. That's the favorite thing for old people to eat up here. Hot dish is canned cream of corn mushroom soup and canned vegetables. Sounds basic, but throw on a layer of tater tots and you've got one mean hangover cure on a winter day, pal. If you go visit Grandma and Grandpa in the Minnesota sticks, sadly, you might have to force down something they call lutefisk. It's a nasty fish, or lefse, or jello mold, and grape salads, and Spam. There's even a Spam museum way down here in a place called Austin. Yuck, yuck, yuck. They also drink pop here and caribou coffee, because Starbucks doesn't have sparkling green tea lemonade with a full flavor shot of raspberry. There's also a stereotype that Minnesota people are super nice. That's sort of true among folks way out in the boonies. For the most part, it's a little bit of folksy passive aggression. They won't tell you your sweater sucks. They'll just say it's interesting. And when you leave, they'll all talk shit about you just like anywhere else. They're super nice to each other though. Sometimes it takes two Minnesota small town friends an hour to say goodbye. Maybe it's cause they're all Lutherans. And then we have the Twin Cities metro area, which makes up about half the state's population. And it's growing fast too. While the rest of the state grew about 3% a year over the last decade, the metro area here grew by about 3 times that amount. Here you have St. Paul and Minneapolis. They call these the Twin Cities. There's more wealth and poverty here than the rest of the state combined. Generally, it's much more dangerous here than the rest of the state. The schools are far worse, and many of the neighborhoods in the metro area are old and decaying. St. Paul's the capital of the state. It's the nicer and more quiet of the two Twin Cities, but these two cities kind of blend together except the Minnesota River splits them in two. St. Paul's a little older and more conservative. St. Paul's also more diverse racially than Minneapolis is. In fact, St. Paul is about 20% Asian. If you want to raise a family and buy a $2 million home and don't care that they roll up their sidewalks after dark, move to St. Paul. If you want to go out to bars and party and go to restaurants and clubs, go to Minneapolis. Minneapolis is much more cosmopolitan than its neighbor. It's bigger, and there's much more to do for fun and work. It's younger and much more hip. It's also growing very fast. The University of Minnesota's here. So is the headquarters of Target, which has great deals on clothing that lasts much longer than the junk you buy at Walmart. And on the south side of Minneapolis is the Mall of America, one of the largest malls in the world. Minneapolis is also where the Vikings, Twins, and Timberwolves play. Of course, there were big riots here, which sparked riots nationwide when people protested the death of a man named George Floyd. The west side of Minneapolis is where all the rich people live, in places like Maple Grove, Plymouth, and St. Louis Park, and Edina, and Eden Prairie. The north side of Minneapolis, especially areas like Brooklyn Center, is the worst side of Minneapolis. Prince is from Minneapolis. People here are still totally in love with him, even after his death. Purple rain, purple rain. Overall, the state has some diversity, though it's all within a very small area. The state leans left, but that's mostly all in the Twin Cities metro area. Remember, this state elected Jesse Ventura as its governor once, and Ilhan Omar too, if that gives you some perspective on their collective political mindset. That's pretty much Minnesota. It's still totally small towns in most of the state, and its largest cities are growing at a quick pace. The kind of place where most folks still have good values. They live off the land and enjoy good conversation. It's the 17th fastest growing state in the US. Not impressive, but not too bad either. Okay, so that's Minnesota in a nutshell. I think we did a pretty good job of looking at the state at a higher level, right? And we didn't even have time to talk about the crack stacks or how everybody here has a crock pot, but we have to go. Mom just made a hot dish and we gotta go before it's all gone. This is Minnesota. It's a bunch of snow and ice hockey. From the way up north, there's a bunch of lakes in this story. Puck drop, everyone sits down to watch. Sun's up, time to count the fish you caught. Here in Minnesota, you're gonna have a really lame time. You'll have a lame time. You'll have a lame old time. Yeah. Hey guys, if you learned something new about America or what it's like to live in America, great. You should think about subscribing and turning on your notifications. You can also click one of these videos or playlists for more. You can also now buy my songs on iTunes and other formats. Click the link in the description. Thanks for watching. And remember, While we all might have different views, we should all be nice to each other and try to make the U.S. a better place in a positive way.
This is Sage, Nick's manager. This has been a Corner House Entertainment production.